Welcome to another episode of Progress, Potential, and Possibilities, discussions with fascinating people designing a better tomorrow for all of us. I'm your host, Ira Pastor.
Welcome, everybody, again to another episode of our show, bringing you another really great guest today involved in creating a better tomorrow on some really unique fronts. Today, we have the honor of being joined by Linda Berger, who is Director of the Office of Research and Technology Applications at the United States National Security Agency, where her team is focused on accelerating and improving the exchange of expertise between NSA and various other government agencies, academia, as well as industry, and ultimately hastening the development and breakthrough with regard to many of these national research programs. She's been with the Office of Research and Technology Applications since 2011, has been serving as a director since 2014. Prior to NSA, Linda previously worked for the Economic Development Offices in both Howard and Frederick counties. She launched her own IT consulting firm as well, with some entrepreneurial spirit there, providing management consulting to literally hundreds of emerging technology companies throughout Maryland. And most recently, in addition to her role at NSA, she was elected to serve as the Federal Laboratory Consortium Executive Board Chair. This is that organization's highest elected position, which represents over 300 different federal laboratories, agencies, and research centers. Linda attended University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where she did her undergraduate work in information systems, then moved on to Johns Hopkins, did her master's there at the Carey Business School, and focused on management. A lot of really interesting themes to get into today. We're honored to have her. Linda Berger, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule to come talk to us for a little while.
Thank you so much for inviting me and providing this opportunity, Ira. I'm really looking forward to our conversation today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I would love to start off, Linda, just by handing you the floor for a little bit to talk about your background, a little bit of the development of your early interest in information systems, obviously in business, and as mentioned in bio, you started out sort of pretty quickly in sort of the world of entrepreneurship, starting your own company, advising lots of different companies in the areas of telecom, in marketing, and in government and tech transfer concepts. Talk a little bit about the early part of the story and how you got going, because it's a really fascinating journey.
Oh, thank you so much. And, you say it sounds like it happened fast. It's like, oh, yeah, it kind of does feel that way. But then again, there was many years in there, which is great. So I started my career in information technology. I was one of those high school graduates who graduated and had no idea what they wanted to do with their life. And, at 17, who knows, right? It's like, what do you want to be? I want to be a rock star. Yeah, sure. But anyway, so not having that idea of what I want to do, I went to community college for a couple of years and figured that out at the local community college. And by the time I got out of those 2 years of the core courses, I knew I wanted to be in information technology. My dad worked his career with the Federal Aviation Administration, and he did coding work to help, as he framed it, to keep the tin cans apart in the sky. It's like, but when you think about it, you're keeping people safe. Those are people's lives in those tin cans. And so he would come home after dinner and he'd have his briefcase and he'd pull out the green bar coding paper, all the programming printouts, and he would do that, do additional work at home, on his computer programs. And just that idea that was an option to be able to kind of work on systems and computer systems that made things happen and kept things from happening, and made sure that the right things happened. That was really intriguing to me. Also, I've always loved puzzles. And so computing and information technology has always appealed to me once I realized that it's like a puzzle. You see the big picture, you take it all apart into its disparate parts because you have to take every single piece like a jigsaw puzzle, right? You got to take everything apart. You see the big picture, take it all apart, but then you have to figure out how it all fits back together and fits together well. So between realizing that whole from a systems analyst perspective, that whole, I got to see the big picture, I got to be able to take it apart and then put it back together better, more effectively through computing. That was really a fit for me. And so I went to UMBC and got my degree in information technology and started at the NSA. It's my first job out of college as a systems analyst, and worked a number of years there. But so the first half of my career was really in IT, culminating in becoming a consultant, working for county government after NSA, and then moving into private sector consulting, then having my own consultant company. And so doing that, it was an exciting time. It was all .com bubble time, kind of late 90s. And so my husband and I had the business together, and we wanted to try to develop a product. And so at the time, I didn't know the term intellectual property. You could not co-locate server space with anyone. That wasn't a thing. No one was, renting out server farm space or data center space. That wasn't a thing. Certainly, there was no cloud environment. So we didn't know what intellectual property was, but we wanted to try to develop a product, doing meetings in the house, all sorts of good stuff. We had server in the basement, all sorts of good things. Long story short, we were unsuccessful, but we've learned a lot from that. And I've learned a lot from that. And so from having that experience, having a successful company, trying to build a product and not having that product come to fruition, I didn't know about technology transfer as well, right? So all these things that I feel like, I've bumped my head against certain walls, moving into management consulting with small businesses as I worked with Frederick County and then Howard County in the second half of my career in what I'm going to call technology-based economic development, helping emerging technology companies bring federally funded innovations into the marketplace. Part of that is feeling like I'm trying to help people avoid mistakes I made or learn from my mistakes. You don't have to learn it all by yourself because here I can help you, right? So hopefully that helps a little bit. But yeah, so my career working, I've done 24/7 production support for a global manufacturer at some point, with the pager. And that's when I started drinking coffee, because you really need that after being up all night. But anyway, so I'm on a tangent there, but just my own experiences in information technology and trying to develop a product helped me find my way to where I am today. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you sharing those stories. And yeah, I mean, business is tough. And I've been there too. I've had some successes, I've had things that didn't work, but that's all part of ultimately creating who you are today. So I appreciate you laying that groundwork, Linda. I wanted to before we get to NSA, I wanted to stop at some of these interesting roles that you had, as you mentioned, sort of the epicenter. You had the IT experience, but then you worked also, you brought in the tech transfer and the economic development side of things for these two roles, which are, they were quite similar, but different in the sense that when you're with the Frederick County Office of Economic Development, you're working with Fort Detrick, and we had Colonel Vic Suarez on the show a few months ago from Operation Warp Speed. There, you're doing things like licensing various assays and therapeutics and diagnostic technologies. But up the road a little bit, when you were working with the Howard County Economic Development Authority, that was a little more broader in the sense, here's the ABCs of starting a business. Hey, maybe we're doing IT. Maybe we want to diversify to quantum, whatever the next thing, and how do we do that when we have one base of expertise? Talk about those experiences a bit, because obviously they're what you did there prepared you for what you're doing now at NSA. But take us through those experiences. I think they're kind of important in this story.
Okay, so when I started with Frederick County, I came into that role I was currently in a program at UMBC, again at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and I had taken some time out of the workforce, have kids, and get them off to kindergarten, and everybody was in school at that point, and so I was looking to come back in. And having been in computing, I knew that I was going to have to ramp up again because things change so fast in the tech space. And so, like when I left, I knew I'd have to ramp up. So I found this program called Activate at UMBC. And it was specifically designed for mid-career women to learn about technology transfer and how to build businesses around technology transfer, around federally funded innovations. And I entered that program thinking I was going to start my next business and develop a product around a federally funded innovation. But halfway through, I found this job at Frederick County, which was literally in my backyard, and Fort Detrick, and helping to promote federal licenses of Army Medical Research and Materiel Command technologies by companies. And so when I had that opportunity, I took it and joined that group. Economic development in general is very broad, highly focused on commercial real estate. And the meat and potatoes is business retention and expansion, and that's all good with your Main Street businesses and everything. But that didn't inspire me. I'm sorry. It's like that wasn't my passion. But I had the opportunity to take a technology-based economic development course, and that, like, the switch flipped for me, and that whole idea of I know the businesses are really important. What I can get fired up about is the tech-based businesses, because there's so much opportunity there. Now with Frederick County, it was Army Research Medical and Materiel Command, so it was almost all biotechnology focused work, which is very good. That's not my background. I will freely admit things I don't know. I didn't know you could fold a protein. I took biology and chemistry, but this is not my strong suit. So working with companies, when we were talking about information technology applications or computing applications, I could feel like I added value because I could project what that next thing was, or I could see the opportunity based on the technology or a physical product. But with the biologics, it was more challenging for me. So it wasn't, it's like, you can do whatever with a monoclonal antibody, and it's like, okay, so it just kind of, it was great, a wonderful opportunity to learn. I got introduced to the Maryland Technology Development Corporation, or TEDCO. Loved working with TEDCO, and they are Maryland's tech-based economic development organization, and they focus on entrepreneurship incubators and that whole emerging technology space, which is what I love. So had the opportunity to work with them, met some folks from Howard County while I was at Detrick, or at a Frederick County Office of Economic Development, and got involved with an informatics coalition effort that they were pushing for the state of Maryland, recognizing the wealth that Maryland has with all the federal labs that it has here and the subject matter experts that work at those labs. So they were kind of focusing on that. I got involved with them, and eventually was recruited for a job to start a tech council with Howard County. And so I started there, which quickly morphed into becoming senior vice president for small business development. So changing from the biotech focus around the Fort Detrick applications to moving to Howard County, which is Maryland's smallest county, but what we have is the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, and NSA is right next door in Anne Arundel County. So it's like the attributes in that jurisdiction were focused on high-tech applications and computing, hard sciences. And so I kind of felt like I was back in my field of expertise again, in addition to being in the small business realm. And so with Frederick County, I had the opportunity to work at businesses through the Fort Detrick Business Development Office and at their incubator, doing the management consulting to help companies help CEOs learn how to move their companies forward faster. So then coming into Howard County, we had three parts of that business. And so we had the new technology council that was launched that was providing services to local businesses. We had the Business Resource Center, which was there to help any small business. We had the Center for Business and Technology Development included an incubator, which was serving emerging technology companies. We had federal partners there in the Small Business Development Center. We had the Procurement and Technical Assistance Center, PTAC, which is which is a federally funded program to help companies learn to do contracting with government, whether it's federal government, local, state, doesn't matter. They will help you for free. Your taxpayer dollars have already paid for that. So we had those partners as well as SCORE, which are volunteer business advisors. So we worked with our incubator tenants, both physical and virtual. We had our technology council to help create activities for networking opportunities and advising opportunities, as well as the business resource center that worked with every business in the county, every small business in the county, the mom and pop shops, the Main Street businesses, the traditional economic development type of activities. So we had it all there in one place. That was a great place to be. And with our incubator there, we had the opportunity to have an advisory board. So we had experts from Equity Capital, from the National Security Agency, from lawyers. We had intellectual property attorneys on our advisory board. So we were able to pull together experts to help those emerging tech companies with the offerings that the center provided, as well as one-on-one consulting with the CEOs if and as needed. So through that advisory board at the center, I was able to meet the person who was in my current role, who was the Office of Research and Technology Applications director at NSA. She and I, started working together to figure out how could we help some of our companies at the incubator leverage the federally funded technology to move it into, could any of our companies license NSA technology? So we started with, what are your top 10, right? So we started by creating a top 10 list of what NSA thought at the time were their hottest technologies, and could we find a company at the center that wanted to license those technologies. We did have companies associated with us licensed from the Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab also. So it's federally funded technology, whether it comes from a federal lab or a university lab, it's similar process sort of thing. So long story short, again, it's really challenging. It's hard. It's not intuitive. And so seeing several companies make attempts unsuccessful, and or with successful attempts at getting a license with either a university or a federal lab, struggling to make things happen, to really bring that technology to life. And it was always kind of a curiosity to me, like, why is this so hard? It shouldn't be this hard, right? It's like, if this is the construct, why can we not make this happen more easily? So when I was offered the opportunity to return to NSA and be part of the Office of Research and Technology Applications, I said yes. I wanted to learn from the other side. What does it look like from inside the federal lab when we are desperately, trying to move these technologies into the commercial sector? What are our holdups? Why is it so difficult? So, and is there anything I could do to facilitate that, to make it better? So I feel like I've gone all around the circle on that, but that's from basic regular economic development to focusing on tech-based economic development, and I still feel like I'm in that space now. That's really where we are. It's industry, federal government, and academia working together to move this nation forward. So I'm going to pause there.
Excellent. No, that's spot on. I mean, I again, thank you for that, and you went exactly the direction that I was hoping you'd go. And again, I wanted to build up this story so people really understood where you were coming from, and sort of this complete package of sort of thought leadership that you put together coming back to NSA. As I mentioned in the bio, so you arrived back in 2011, you take the director position in 2014. Introduce us to the Office of Research and Technology Applications, as your role as director of Tech Transfer Program. A little bit of what the office is like, how many people you have in the office, sort of their different capability, what you do after you have your coffee in the morning. What's a typical day like in the Tech Transfer office? And I was reading that I I was unaware of it. It was interesting to find out that the tech transfer program actually at NSA goes back to 1990.
Yep.
And I didn't, I guess, I don't know, admitting my stupidity here or whatever, but thinking that, maybe some of these more secretive government organizations might not have had a tech transfer program, but it's existed for a while. So take us through a little bit of history, if you would, too.
Absolutely. I'll start with our office. So we are the NSA Office of Research and Technology Applications, or the ORTA. And the ORTA is something that's statutorily mandated. Boring, sorry. So if I get into boring land, please just go, Linda.
No, it's good.
So if a federal laboratory, NSA is a federal laboratory, and so if you have more than 200 employees who are researchers or scientists, you federal laboratory shall have an ORTA, an Office of Research Application of Technology Applications, and you shall fund it and you shall staff it, blah, 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 all that good stuff. So NSA is a federal lab, and we have had an ORTA office since 1990. Federal legislation happened in the 80s to make technology transfer a thing. And I'm going to back up a tiny little bit. And so what is technology transfer? Technology transfer is the exchange of knowledge, capabilities, and research breakthroughs between federal laboratories and external partners. And those external partners can be industry, academia, it can be nonprofits, it can even be other government entities. And so we're looking at, so that's one way to look at it, that exchange and sharing and advancing of science and technology in partnerships. Another way to look at it is commercializing federally funded innovations. So that's a big push as well with the patents and the licensing and everything. So we're looking to take things essentially from a federal environment and move them into the commercial sector. So we started on this road in the mid-'80s with the Bayh-Dole Act, which said that federally funded innovations could be owned by the party developing them. So the federal government, gave up ownership or made statutorily happen that those who were performing the federal funded activities could retain ownership, such as universities. So now that sparked a whole lot of innovation in and of itself, because now you have ownership of the thing and you are not just returning it to the government. Thank you very much. And off you go. So we have that piece. And then in 86, we had the Federal Technology Transfer Act, which provided the CRADA statute, which is, I'm sorry, I feel like I went into geek mode there. But so basically, that is the statute that enables federal labs to enter into CRADAs, as well as the licensing of technology was previous with other legislation. That's the code that says you shall create an ORTA if you are a federal lab and you have X number of employees. So it provided a lot of the authority base for technology transfer and gave us impetus to begin doing this movement of innovations from the lab to the marketplace. So that happened in 86 with the Federal Technology Transfer Act. So by 90, NSA had stood up its ORTA function, as many other federal labs were initiating their activities probably around the same time or post 86. So we've been around, but we are in the intelligence community. You're in the IC, so we're a little quiet, So and we had a fairly low profile for a very long time, and for the longest time, we were the only IC element that had an Office of Research and Technology Applications. So that's not the same now. So other members of the IC are now participating and active in tech transfer and are in multiple stages of standing up offices of research and technology applications and doing lots of amazing work. So for our office, we've been around for a bit, and we have a very small team. We serve the entire agency. We are located in the research directorate of the agency, and we serve all of NSA. So we have a team of 6 personnel, 6 people on our team, and some contractors that support us, but 6 civilians. And we're a very diverse team in our skill sets and backgrounds, because no one trains to go into tech transfer. This is not a thing, right? Everybody kind of wanders into tech transfer from whatever their paths are. So we currently have an all-female team, which has not always been the case, but right now it's an all-female team. We have a couple of attorneys on our team. We have an electrical engineer. And so I'm going to, background wise, my background is information technology and management and entrepreneurship. We have an expert in communications, multilingual people. We have people expert in physical security and property management. So everybody has come to the office in a variety of ways and brings their, kind of for us, it brings an interdisciplinary approach to everything we do, which is awesome because we all see things differently, and that helps us to arrive at the best decisions for the organization. So we have the opportunity in our office. We have two primary functions for NSA. We identify, develop, and license our intellectual property, and that's going to be either patents or open source software. And then we put together partnerships through tech transfer authorized partnerships. And those can be things like CRADAs, the Cooperative Research and Development Agreements, where we go shoulder to shoulder with another partner. No money's involved, but we can work together to advance science and research together. We have patent license agreements where we grant rights to NSA's patents to corporate entities so that they can commercialize and move these things into the marketplace. And we have open source software releases, which are where we're releasing intellectual property in a broad, inclusive way, whereas patents are restrictive and exclusive. It's like you can't do this unless you have the license. You cannot make, use, or sell the patented technology unless you have a license to do so. With open source software, it's a 180-degree model where we put the code out. It's still released under license, under an open source license, but it's inclusive, and we want everybody to participate so that we get the best, broadest engagement there. We execute education partnership agreements for the agency for all the university and nonprofit engagements that we do, or that the agency supports. And tech transfer sharing agreements are the other one that we do. And this is sharing capabilities that are developed at NSA for NSA purposes, and we share them with other government entities. And so we can share with state, local, other federal agencies. So, for example, one of our most widely shared tools for a while was something we called a vulnerability tool set. So it's like information assurance type things. When we were calling it information assurance, now it's cybersecurity, right? But we've developed some tools at NSA, and we can share them with our federal partners through these TTSAs. And I never knew about this before I came to NSA. It's a highest volume activity we do, are these sharing with our government partners. And when I learned about it, it made me really happy because it's like, I really want to make sure that our federal partners are getting best in class cybersecurity capabilities and tools that they can use. And we're providing that to our federal peers. And so it's a great opportunity where we can share our mission expertise with our federal partners. And so the 5 different kinds of agreements we generally put together: the CRADAs, PLAs, the TTSAs, the sharing and the education partnership agreements, and open source. So we develop intellectual property, we create partnerships to ignite the innovation and create those possibilities between the partners. So I don't know if I answered all your questions or not, or if I.
No, you hit, again, you hit it right on the head. And again, I appreciate sort of that scope of everything from sort of the traditional patent licensing on through the CRADA. I was wondering, obviously and for everybody listening and watching this episode, we will put the links to the ORTA and website and TTP, so you can see some of these sort of the publicly announced deals and different relationships that you have in this area. Love for you to talk about some of these. And there's a bunch that are on the website. One that has to do with a company called PadJack, which has to do some interesting. And I'm a life sciences guy, so some of this stuff I'm sorry if I speak about the kindergarten style, but sort of a physical type of tool for protecting networks. Another really cool one, this company, a Hawaiian company called Capalia, which was asking this big question about, hey, what happens after you send on your email? And I never really thought about that one as much, but walk someone through some of the cases that are most exciting to you, but some of the ones
Sure.
that you can talk about to give an idea for
Absolutely.
the types of programs that you work together with.
Yes, I will, but I would be totally remiss if I didn't do this and do my little product promo. So this is, I think you can see it. Maybe, I don't know if it's
Cool.
blurring or not. Here we go. I don't know.
No, it's perfect.
Anyway, but we have a portfolio that is at our website of our patents available for licensing. And I'm sorry that didn't come clean there. But our website is www.nsa.gov/tech transfer, all one word on the tech transfer part. So if you go there, you can find the portfolio of 120 plus patent technologies that are available for licensing in 5 different category areas. So there's an index in the back. It's a searchable PDF, so you can kind of if you want something in the mobility space or Internet of Things or cybersecurity or data science or physical security, we have broken the technologies out the way that people ask us for them. So it's like we're trying to be customer focused, and people talk to us, I need something in cyber. Well, let's talk about that and let's dig deeper. What does that mean to you and what are you looking for? So we do have a portfolio of technologies that are out there that are patented technologies where the government's already done the R&D, and we have already done the initial investment in the patent application, the patent issuance. So the development of the intellectual property. And I'll come back to, if you're a company, what that means to you is you can go out there and solve that hard problem by yourself, or you can get there faster by leveraging federal technology. So
Right.
we've already done that initial work. You can license the technology. It puts an intellectual property stake in the ground for your company, and you can build intellectual property or IP around that initial licensed patent,
Mm-hmm.
and you can take it from there. And that's a way you build value to maybe get your company acquired someday. It's all good. So in that
Absolutely.
whole economic development thing. So talking about companies specifically. So you mentioned 2, and I'll talk about those specifically. So and these are both patent licensees for NSA. The first one, Pajak. Pajak is one of our long-time successful partners. And so I'll tell you the backstory first, and it'll be super awesome, and you'll love the analogy I'm going to give you. So
Cool.
everybody has electric outlets, right? You know
Mm-hmm.
what, right? And so you have kids around. What do? You put those little plastic protectors in the electrical outlet so that the kids don't stick things in the electrical outlets, right?
I got a bunch of those in
Every
this house.
right? So everybody can relate to that. So then you think about computers or phones or servers. And what do they all have? They all have data ports. So just like that electrical outlet is a port where you can access electricity, the data ports on your computers and computing devices are access points. And you could put something into those ports and you could do one of 2 things. You could import data or add data, or you could take data out. So it's a communication method, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have developed physical security devices, we NSA, for mission use, and all of our technologies are developed for mission use. But we developed technologies so that we can make sure that those ports were not accessed in an unauthorized manner.
Mm-hmm.
Unauthorized access of a data port could allow infiltration of malware, which would be very bad, or unauthorized exfiltration of data. So somebody could take data out of a system that we did not want, or add code that we did not want into it. So we developed plastic port protectors. I mean, that's basically, it's a basically like the little plastic electric outlet protector, but they're shaped to the different shapes of the data ports. So we have like everybody knows what a USB plug is. We've got
Yep.
USB port protectors, whether the port is empty or there's a cable in it. So we can have a locking seal once you've plugged in the thing, or D sub ports, RJ45 ports, for all the variety of connectors that your phone or computer use. We probably have and even with vehicles, the onboard diagnostic for your vehicles, we've got a port protector that we can use to plug that data port so that we can be sure when the device is not in our positive control, that we can be reasonably assured that it's not been tampered with. And these are tamper evident technologies. So if, it's kind of like you get the burglar alarm on your house, but if the bad guy wants to get in, they're going to get in. But you'll know because the alarm goes off, right? So with these are tamper evident. If somebody really tries to access that data port, the port protector will be destroyed, and we will know that access occurred. So they're tamper evident. So we develop these things. all of a sudden, and so we're a warfighter support agency at NSA, and so Army, Navy, Air Force are our customers. They all need these port protectors.
Mm-hmm.
We, NSA, are not a manufacturer. So all of a sudden, we're doing like order fulfillment for Army, Navy, Air Force with getting these devices built for them because they need them. So the office that created the physical protectors came to our office and said, we need some help. And this is a perfect technology transfer application. So we found a commercial partner in Padjack who was willing to set up a website, and they licensed several of the designs from us, or some of the patented technologies. They've developed multiple product offerings. Now Army, Navy, Air Force, and anyone in the business world as well can go to their website and buy port protectors, a variety of shapes, sizes, quantities, and as well as locking seals for when cables are in the devices. Jimbo Lane is the company's CEO, and one of the reasons why he realized that this was probably a really good idea to move forward with, in addition to the government use, and this goes to dual use, commercial and government use.
Mm-hmm.
He had been visiting a family member who was in the hospital, and needed to charge up a phone or something, plugged in to an open port and found himself on the hospital's network. And I was like, oh, that could be a problem. So think about fast food point of sale devices now that are all electronic and stuff. If you want to make sure that your devices that have public access of some sort or another are secure, this could be a good thing. Data centers are another example where you have rows and rows of servers and tons of open ports. Well, who has access to those? Well, anyone who's in the building. So if you want to protect that asset and protect those ports, the data ports are the thing. So when we initially got Padjack as a licensee, it quickly grew to multiple technologies licensed, and they have been a consistent, successful licensees of ours for years, and just for us, a real game changer. And I say that in terms of it is the perfect example of moving it from the federal space to the commercial space, and now everyone, commercial and federal, can access it. But then our innovators, the guys and gals who developed those port protectors, they're not doing order fulfillment anymore. That's not their job. Right. What their job is to innovate and create the next, because everybody comes out with new data ports all the time. So those shapes and sizes change, and we have to find ways to protect those data ports. And it allows our inventors to focus on their areas of expertise, which is inventing cool new port protectors. So that's Padjack, and they're at padjack.com. Kapali is another one that is a really interesting multiple licensee of ours, with multiple licenses of different patented technologies of ours. So they started with a cryptologic technology to encrypt data and translate. As you mentioned, what happens to your email when you hit send? Well, is it encrypted? Is it not encrypted? And how do you know? And are you sure that your company communications are secure? So they had an application. They wanted to incorporate our technology, our encryption technology, into it as they developed that. And so that was their first license with us, and their second, and additional license is now around ransomware protection. So they've licensed another technology from us that is another very time relevant and applicable technology. Everybody's aware of ransomware threats, and when ransomware attacks occur, the damage that's done. And the organization that was targeted in that ransomware attack, they're doing cleanup mode. What can they recover? Did they have to pay money? Right? It's like, was their data destroyed? It's all cleanup, right? So can I get my data back in the first place, or can the organization get its data back? And then what's the damage? It's all cleanup mode. The ransomware technology that Capalia has licensed from us and is bringing to market now will catch it before it gets in the door. Will prevent the ransomware attack, basically. Developed by a team of innovators in our agency who have had other technologies commercially licensed. So they were very comfortable working with a commercial firm. So we put a CRADA in place as well with the license, so that our innovators can work with their innovators. So their scientists or their technicians and our technical teams can work together to commercialize the federally funded innovation.
Mm-hmm.
And so that one's coming to market. The other one is already on the market. And so they're a growth oriented company, and we're just really excited about what the future holds for them.
Excellent. I love seeing these things get to market in the process. I just even though again I'm a life sciences guy, I still just so impressed by the rate that this happens.
Can I give you an open source model or
I was going to ask you about the open source because
Perfect.
you mentioned the
Perfect.
open source releases, and I know that we chatted about
Yeah.
Niagara Files, NiFi, and this one, was reading about. It's amazing how in this particular case, and I'd love you to talk more about it. How sort of what started as open source, is now being ExxonMobil and AT&T and all these major companies all around the world. Walk us through that one too, if you would.
So NiFi was 2014. Going back to there, the NSA Office of General Counsel said open source software is intellectual property, and we should it will be licensed under an open source license. So it's like in 2014, open source software releases and contributions came under our office's jurisdiction, if you will, because our attorneys basically made the determination that this is NSA's intellectual property. This is federally funded work that when you're releasing it, we are releasing it under an open source license. And the innovators can pick and choose which ones they like. There's some that, our attorneys always have to review those licenses and everything. But so in 2014, it came into our lane, effectively into our team's lane. And so our deputy director and I worked across the agency to make sure that all the due diligence for an open source software release were met. Whether it's contracting, do we have the requisite rights? Do we have, if contractors were involved, do we have all the rights we need? Do we have the distribution rights? Do we have the ownership rights? Have senior technology leaders in the agency or technical directors, have they said it's okay? Do we have we evaluated we have a whole internal due diligence process, long story short, that we developed with NiFi as the first example going through that process as the tool that helped us develop our internal process that allowed us to basically, if you're thinking about charting a path, we got the machete and we're cutting through the weeds of bureaucracy to get out to get it over the wall from the inside of NSA out into that open source environment. And I, as we went through it, I know we had conversations about we're cutting a path, and hopefully it's a 4-lane highway one day, kind of thing. It's like we're trying to make it easy. So there had been some prior releases, and they were like individualistic efforts as opposed to a corporate process. So there was no land, no breadcrumbs to follow. How did you guys do that? Don't know. It was force of will. Yeah, right. Okay. So we created a corporate process that others could follow, and that we knew we were hitting all the boxes and checking all the boxes so that a full due diligence process had happened for NSA. NiFi was the first one. So at the time, as a little bit of background, there were many government agencies who didn't think we ought to be doing any, and like, I don't want to name anybody specifically, but other organizations were saying we shouldn't be doing open source at all. It was kind of a new space for government to be in. We were doing it a little bit, but not a lot. We, government writ large. By finding a way to engage in the open source community, it's actually been a great retention tool for federal agencies, because that's where a lot of action is. And for federal government agencies to be able to get to engaging in open source work for their coders, it's been a real plus for us. And it allows us, NSA, and the government writ large to access that whole coding community that's out there in open source. So NiFi goes out the door. So we get that out, it lands. And it was a very robust tool. It was developed again for mission use. It identifies and prioritizes data flows across networks. So it's like, you need data fast. It's like, well, which is the most important data, and let's get it back home as quickly as possible. So it's about data flows and getting data and information where you need it in a timely fashion so that decision makers can use it, right? So it can help change the game for you. And so that NiFi, that's what it does. And so the tool went out. A company was formed around it. So a company called Anyara formed around the NiFi technology to provide services around the tool, because it's open source and anybody could do that. So maybe anybody can do anything with open source once it's out, but then they can contribute back in and help build and grow the capabilities of the tool. So a company formed, jobs were created. So the good economic activity starts to happen like almost immediately, which is great. Within the first month of the tool's release, we had a contributor from Germany add something back into the code base that enabled a 75% reduction in compile time, which is starting up. So you know how when you turn on your computer and you're waiting for it to start, and that just takes forever, right? It's never fast enough. So the fact that we got a 70, that's the equivalent here. So we got a 75% reduction from somebody from overseas. How cool is that? So there is a vetting process for the code, for the code contributions being pulled back in. That's kind of a separate issue. But so right away, we got strong contributions from the tech community. We had some economic activity happening right away. Then the next kind of step in that process was Hortonworks, which was a Silicon Valley firm, started developing products around NiFi. So another quick adoption and like community or industry acceptance of this federally funded tool that now was kind of out in the open source community. So they developed some products around it. Ultimately, they bought the company that formed around the technology when it was first released. So there's your first merger, kind of thing. So, or acquisition kind of activity. So Hortonworks bought it. Eventually Hortonworks was bought by Cloudera. And so now all that NiFi capabilities is under Cloudera. So another acquisition activity occurred. So all that to say, people hear mergers and acquisitions, like, okay, I know what that is. It's like, that's good economic activity happening, right? Yeah. And so we talk about companies being formed, jobs being created, new products being developed, all off of this federally funded innovation that wouldn't have been out there. If we had not gotten to yes, if NSA had not gotten to yes on putting the code out there, this capability out there as an open source software release, it wasn't patented. It wouldn't have come out that way. So this is great return on investment to the American taxpayer because we're developing these tools and now they're out there that we're moving into the commercial space in a totally new way. So this is not like we talked about traditional economic development and tech-based economic development. There's traditional tech transfer, and then there's this newer version where the traditional model is patent licensing and creators. And then open source software is kind of a whole new ball game here. So with NiFi, now we have, and very shortly, we had Fortune 500 and international firms using that who were willing to go in public and say that, yes, we're using this tool, that was developed by NSA. So we know ExxonMobil, AT&T, British Gas are all, and other Fortune 500 companies are all users of the technology. So it is the best case, again, where it's dual use, government and commercial, and widely adopted, widely used. And now, if you look, you can just find jobs specifically, hundreds of jobs online. If you go to Indeed or something and look for NiFi jobs, jobs where I need to know NiFi. Yep. And these are like 6-figure jobs. So these are really excellent, well-paying jobs all around a capability that, maybe 10 years ago wouldn't have been released. But we got to, or whatever, maybe I guess 10 years ago, it was almost 2014. But, in a time of, having to get to yes or deciding to get to yes and having the opportunity to develop and release things as open source, it's been a real game changer for the government, not just for NSA. Another release that is the other really big release that's very well known, or another recent one, is Ghidra, which is a software reverse engineering tool. Cut to the chase, same thing on that one in terms of the jobs. You can find hundreds of Ghidra jobs now, that require that skill set. So it's a skill set that we wanted to build and develop by releasing the tool as open source. So it provides a lot of opportunity for collaboration, for raising skill levels in areas that are beneficial to both the government and the commercial sector.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In addition, I mean, obviously having amazing success in getting these technologies out and commercialized by the private sector, but you're also doing quite a bit on this, this educational, partnership front. Mm-hmm. And again, there's a bunch of these press releases in the NSA material. Vehicle cybersecurity relationship with Morgan State University. adversary misinformation, Howard University, this really cool one, the overhead imagery, aircraft machine learning, and marine vessel object detection and Internet of Things at there's a summer program at Bowie State. I'd like to be. I'd like to go back to school and learn some of this. Talk a little bit about the educational side of this, because I think it's when we had Charlie Tejan on the show a few months ago, he talked about LPS at the University of Maryland and sort of the quantum relationship there. I think it's really cool that it's not just the businesses, but you can start early with the students and really exposing them to this bleeding edge stuff while they're still in college. Talk about some of these relationships, if you would.
Oh, delighted to. Yeah, and I'm glad you've seen those releases. Those, I'm so glad that we were able to get those out on our website to share that kind of success with our academic partners. So as you mentioned, NSA has unclassified research partnerships in a variety of ways, like LPS, the Lab for Physical Sciences, and others. So the success stories that you've mentioned come out of a CRADA opportunity. So CRADAs are not funded by the government. So that's one thing we can't do is provide funding to the partners, whereas LPS is, that there's funded research and then CRADA research. So that's a tool in our toolbox, and we've found a creative way to enable and bring to life and implement one of our director's primary strategic goals, which is to build a diverse workforce for the future, for NSA now and in the future. So our response to that, and it's something that we've built over time. So in addition to complementing that perfectly, we had a request from senior management to work with a consortium of historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs, to work on unclassified NSA problem areas. As we moved through the development of what became what we call the Minority Serving Institution Working Group, CRADA, or MSI CRADA in short, we worked with our engagement and policy people, our academic and industry engagement personnel, and they said, we need to broaden it up, because we need to go for all 7 categories in the Department of Ed statute, which includes Hispanic serving institutions, tribal institutions, Pacific Islander, Asian Americans. So any group that's considered a minority serving institution, we want to be able to engage with them broadly as well, in addition to the HBCU specifically. So those 7 categories are all included in our MSI CRADA model. And what we've tried to create is a broad surface area of engagement for NSA with NSA's unclassified problem sets or challenge areas. So we have 3 topic areas. So we have cybersecurity, Internet of Things, which includes RF and signal processing, or radio frequency signal processing, which is a big thing for us. And then we have a security focused one. So a secure composition. And so but there's 3 broad topic areas. And of all the things that NSA is involved in, we can fit them into one of these 3 buckets. And this was the topic areas were developed with our senior technical directors. And so we put these three topics together. So if you think about, again, adapters, and it's like, so where or when we work with different institutions, they're all going to have different capabilities and resourcing. They may or may not have a business school that's involved with innovation core or lean launchpad kind of things, where it's like there's kind of a structured methodology around how to assess customer product market fit. There's a customer discovery process, and is this going to be a fit? And we build a business model canvas, or for us, we use a mission model canvas. But there's kind of a methodical way that we can evaluate problems. So in our CRADA, we've got the 3 topic areas, and we're working with any MSIs that are interested, involved. We currently have 14 partners in this MSI CRADA engagement. We started in 2019 and have built up to the 14 now. We have a number more kind of pending where it's in their legal review that will grow this partnership. The way I look at it is like, wherever that organization is, whatever your resourcing, whatever your skills, expertise, we want to work with you, we NSA. So we're coming to the table with these 3 topic areas that represent our unclassified problem areas that we can share and do research projects together, such as the Ghidra and the vehicle reverse, that project that you mentioned, as well as all the others. So these are traditional CRADA research projects where somebody from NSA, a technical lead, is working with a technical lead, usually a faculty member at the institution, and the students are engaging in the research as well, which is the awesome part. So we want to get them excited about the challenges of NSA mission opportunities early. So many students don't even consider the IC or the intelligence community or some place like NSA,
Right.
as a potential place to work. It very much is. And by allowing the students to engage in the unclassified problems, gets them thinking that maybe they might apply for NSA. I mean, we got a kind of a longer process, but they might. So they and actually we have had conditional job offers, full job offers, and actual hires from the students now at NSA as a result of this. So over time, we've been developing the metrics and everything. We know that we're getting hires out of this program that allows us to do research with faculty and students. The key piece, the students change every year. So, and the progression is, they're the work product of the university as the graduate. We want to hire that graduate. We want them to hit the ground running, come on in and do good work for us. And these CRADAs enable us to get them interested, but also help kind of build that strong relationship between NSA and the university. So how can I compete with, pick your big name, a Harvard or a Yale, right? If I'm a small university or an MSI, I'm not as well resourced as a Division I school or an R1 university. We've developed the tool, the CRADA, so that we can meet these institutions where they are with whatever their capabilities are, whatever their area of expertise is. So one school might have expertise in RF. Well, by gosh, that's where we're going to be working with them. One school might have expertise in there might be a center of academic excellence in cybersecurity or something. Whatever their area of focus is, and where our mission aligns, that's where we're going to engage them. So whatever their expertise and our need, that's where we're going to align. If they have a capstone course, an independent study course, the CRADA can plug in there. So we'll work with whatever academic structures they have to find ways to engage. And if neither of those are a fit, one of the things we've just started is something that we're calling hacking for intelligence. So you may have heard of hacking for defense, and it's kind of the reverse of lean startup or the I-Core methodology, where we're doing that customer discovery or beneficiary discovery. And I'm sorry if I get too deep on this, but then with the hacking for method, it's like, here's our unclassified problem. Here's our problem. Is this really the problem we think it is? Or is it just a symptom, right? So is this really the problem? Can you help us figure that out? So we're using the hacking for defense methodology in partnership with the Common Mission Project, which is an organization that provides that curriculum, and we're adjusting it and adapting it just for this MSI working engagement. So making it so it's student focused, helping create the CMP also provides a Common Mission Project provides instructor training. So the faculty from the institutions can go get trained in hacking for methodologies, and then using our hacking for intelligence specific curriculum, we can use that and incorporate that into an existing class. Mm-hmm. So we kind of have the traditional model where we can incorporate it wherever it fits, or we can start to deploy this hacking for, or we've done one pilot, we'll have another in the spring with a hacking for intelligence before we roll it out full bore. But that way we've created a sustainable model and a consistent way of engagement with the university. So I'm sorry, I feel like I went into way too much detail there, but
No.
But it's for us, it's how do we scale and grow this? These MSIs represent, just like federal labs represent like a treasure chest of innovation and for our nation. MSIs do as well. Yep. So they're the underutilized, overlooked, untapped, undertapped. Let's say, it's like, let's go out. I mean, national security is all hands on deck. We cannot afford to leave any smart person on the wayside or any thoughtful person on the wayside. We need all the help we can get to ensure our nation's continued leadership, technological security, and health and well-being. And so I'm really proud of the work that we've done in this space. It's been led by our deputy director, Karen Presley, and she's just, really brought this program to life for NSA. And just it's been a real thrill for us to be able to have worked on this together over the years, bringing it to life, helping it become a sustainable thing that then hopefully can be emulated by other federal agencies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And speaking about other federal agencies,
Mm-hmm.
and I mentioned in the bio, aside from everything you're doing, Linda, per NSA, the last couple of years you've been serving as the in this executive chair
Mm-hmm.
position per the Federal Laboratory Consortium, and here you're dealing with the themes and the ideas, all these tech transfer and economic development concepts broadly now
Right.
across
Right.
hundreds of different agencies, and I don't know, whether it's USDA or the Department of the
Right.
Interior or the Census, but I mean, they all got innovation going on. Talk a little bit about this role, what you learned the last couple of years. Obviously, I'm sure NSA innovation and the Department of the Interior or whatever have different interests, but nonetheless, I guess the underlying themes of tech and innovation and economic development are similar. But talk a little bit about this role, but if you would.
Oh, absolutely. So it's been a real pleasure and honor to have been able to serve as in the role of chair for the FLC, for the Federal Laboratory Consortium for the past 2 years. And so it's an association of the 300 plus federal laboratories that exist across all of government. So to your point, it's like everything that government does, there's probably a federal laboratory doing research in that space, from transportation, safety, or security, like we are, energy, space, health and human services. Whatever government does, we're doing research in it. In fact, in the 2023 fiscal year, there's 180 billion with the B, billion dollars worth of basic and applied research across government. So that's a lot of investment. And again, tech transfer is ROI, or return on investment, to the taxpayer in the form of these federally funded innovations that come out that we want to get commercialized. So again, so transportation or census or NSA, the tech transfer activities we do are all focused on our agency's mission. So my mission is different than Health and Human Services mission
Right.
and USDA's mission, right? But we all work in our mission spaces to move things forward for the American public. And so we are that association. Our job, we've been around since 1974. So next year is our 50th anniversary for FLC, which is really exciting that, we actually have an organization that strategically with the executive board kind of creates strategy for the federal tech transfer community. And we work to promote, increase awareness, and increase the impact of federal tech transfer. And so we do that by promoting, educating, and facilitating federal tech transfer. And so with the promotion part, we have a national awards program every year where we highlight the best in tech transfer in a variety of categories. We have an annual calendar or planner that's established, or that's printed, published. It's available online too, and it has, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words. Awesome pictures from federal labs at work with a little bit of descriptive information, but they're all technologies that have been commercialized. So if you can find that online. Their website is federallabs.org with two L's in the middle. And they have a lot of resources there. So, and we can talk about that a little bit. So promoting is the awards, the calendar, and making sure that good news stories are being told. There's a digest with weekly updates from FLC that you can sign up to the mailing list. With the educate part, we have totally revamped the program there. Their once a year annual meeting is the primary in-person training opportunity and professional development opportunity. So we've restructured that so that we've updated, we've added some structure to the curriculum development so that, if we need to have 5 versions of T2 for beginners, we can, as the field grows. So we want to make sure that we're offering consistent, high quality delivery of everything by having a curriculum structure to the development. We've also moved a lot of content to digital format because it's nice to get together in person, and sometimes that's not possible, as we've recently learned. So we realized to best serve our community, we want to make sure everything's digitally available. So 24/7, where you are, whenever you want it, you can find training information, webinars that have happened, recordings on our learning management system. So we have a new learning center, or an updated learning center, where we have a new tool that we've added to make sure that professionals, T2 professionals across the government, can kind of chart a course in their career path, a training path, and then track what they're doing. And we're building to a micro-credentialing program so that we can have, a way of consistently gauging where professionals are in their career and having a career path for professionals. So if you go to the website, there's all the learning management system. There is the Lab Tech in Your Life, which is a really great, easy way to demonstrate what is tech transfer. And it's a virtual tour of a house and an airport currently. And in October, we'll have a hospital environment where it'll take you on this virtual tour, and you can find things that were developed through tech transfer that you have in your everyday life that you might not even be aware of, that came out of a federal lab with federally funded research that's now as a commercial product. Something like, some eye drops that help preserve vision in people with eye disease, airbags in your cars, GPS in your cars, the port protector, our port protectors in the house. So, that's one of the highlighted technologies that you could use that if you needed to. And in the airport, there's a lot of, TSA kind of related Transportation and Safety Administration. Or if I feel like I'm getting their acronym wrong, transportation safety, whatever. Anyway, TSA technologies in the airport and in the hospital, there'll be other ones as well, health related and medically focused. So just brings it to life, makes it easy to understand for tech transfer. And the last bit is facilitate, and that is tools and services to help connect and create partnerships for federal labs and their brilliant innovators with these external parties. So if I need to use I'm a small business and I really need to borrow an anoechic, a chamber where I can test my RF devices or my new antenna design or something, and I need an anoechic chamber. Well, you know what? There's probably a federal lab that has one, and in a CRADA, you could partner with them to test your device. If I want to send something into space, my small company, but I need to know if it'll work in that anti-gravity environment, well, you could probably partner with somebody who has an anti-gravity tank and test your device there, because the federal labs have access to these expensive environments and equipment that small businesses can't afford, and even over a medium-sized business may not be able to afford. Through partnerships in a CRADA, in a work for others type program, we can work with businesses to advance technologies, and they're in the mission space of that entity, but we can work with small businesses to help them kind of prove out and further test technologies to bring them actually into the market space for government and commercial use. So Lab Tech in Your Life is a great, this is T2 on a daily basis. The FLC business is a way to connect with labs and resources, and then the Learning Center, all at the FLC website. It's just an exciting group to get to be a part of, because even with the annual awards, that's kind of one of my favorite things, is just, seeing whether it's a new strain of blueberry, because yes, you can patent plants, that's always kind of the outside my realm again, different areas of whatever the government's into, to transportation safety things, applications. There's a public safety one, I think that was last year or the year before. Shake Alert was developed by the U.S. Geological Survey. And it's a way that people can get like early notice of earthquake activity based on USGS sensors. And now a company's taken it, and it's an app that you can have on your phone, and know, like, I forget the timing, but it's like the tiny little timing fraction of a notice that you'll get early is enough to save lives, to do things like stop a train. So it does, there's enough of a warning that it can save lives and protect property. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff like, wow, we all get in our little, in my day-to-day, activities, and it's really an exciting opportunity to always get to get to visit another federal lab or learn about the work that they're doing. So there's just so much out there. It is literally the nation's treasure chest of opportunity and innovation. And we are, all of us, all federal labs, are looking for commercialization partners and research partners. And so FLC is a great way to that FLC website. You can reach out to them and they'll help you find a federal partner for whatever you're doing.
Outstanding. Yeah, and we'll put we'll link to that as well in the bio of the show. One last area I want to touch on then while we have you, and I do so appreciate your time today and getting sort of one of the more serious topics of the show. What goes to the Office of Research and Technology Applications website into the public materials, you eventually run into the peanut butter and jelly CRADA poster, and well, actually, three things I want to mention while we have you. One, I'm 55 and I still love a good peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
See, right? Who doesn't? No. Well, maybe some if you have nut allergies, no, but no.
I still love it. 2 years ago, I forget what university it was. There was a tech transfer opportunity where somebody had developed peanut butter slices, and I don't know what ever happened to that, but whatever. That was just an interesting thing right there. But the third thing.
Future episode.
Yeah, I was doing an episode with one of our guests from DARPA a couple months ago, and in the their broad agency announcement, where they solicit proposals from the public and different ideas, there was these materials. I was reading through them, and one of the pieces of this document near the end mentioned that if you are under 15 years of age, that you need your parent to sign off on your proposal to DARPA. And I was sitting back and I was looking at this and I was thinking to myself, when I saw the peanut butter and jelly CRADA, it got me thinking about, well, I mean, I have 3 kids. I don't know what they do on their computer, but they're always making silly videos and stuff. But is there an age sort of, I mean, obviously you work with the folks in the universities and you're getting to the students. Is there some age limit here in working with NSA? I mean, if I had a really prodigious 13-year-old that had a cool encryption idea, I mean, well, is there something there, or is there a cutoff when it comes to something like this? And it just got me wondering. So that's the serious question of the show for you. But
so multiple paths to take that. Yeah. I'll start with from a workforce development perspective, and the EPAs. We do the education partnership agreements. Right. We also have EPAs with K-12 schools. So from it, no, the idea is when children are advancing through their early academic years, there's a point, it takes me way back to the archives. Anyway, so there's a point where some students opt out of STEM careers. We don't want that. We want kids of all types and interests to remain interested in STEM careers. So, and our future workforce depends on it. Our nation's future workforce and our agency-specific future workforce depends on it. So our K-12 programs, we have 2 that are called MEP and PI, but where we can go out to K-12 institutions, and we'll talk about, there's one that's a canned talk where we use Skittles, and it's like, and we can talk about math concepts with Skittles, and then the kids get to eat them. How bad could that be, right? Cool. So there's canned talks that NSA personnel can go out and do or present to interested K-12, upon teacher request kind of thing. So no age too early to be interested in solving hard problems in science and math and technology, and everybody can do it. And even it's just we want to make sure we foster engagement at all levels. So that's one thing from a workforce development perspective. We want to intrigue people in challenges early. Because if there's a challenge that you can relate to, it might intrigue you to pursue that as a career path. So that's one thing. So then age limits from an engaging with us and to the whole, hey, I got the prodigious 13-year-old. So if you want to do business with NSA, we're a little different. So most agencies will do broad agency announcements, or Fed Biz Ops is another way to find about business opportunities for the federal government. NSA is a little different. We do not advertise publicly our requirements or our acquisition opportunities. Mm-hmm. We have something called our Acquisition Resource Center. So it's the NSAARC.net. Okay. And companies can register and input their capability statements, and that's where the marketplace is for doing business with NSA. And so if you go to the NSA website, nsa.gov/business. That's where you can find out all about how to do business with NSA. And it includes a part about unsolicited proposals. So I've got this brilliant idea and you really need to know about it, or I've created this cool thing and you, NSA, really need to know about it. Anybody, I don't believe there's any limitation on that, but you have to submit the unsolicited proposal. It goes into our acquisition team and they'll figure out if it's something that's relevant, they'll contact you, or if it's of interest. So, and I for my time at Howard County, I know a company that submitted an unsolicited proposal and got business with the NSA, specifically. So it does work. So from my perspective, as we work with partners, we're working with nonprofits, academic institutions, but from a licensing perspective, we're looking for businesses. We're not going to, individuals are nice, but you're not going to be, the individual doesn't have the resources that a corporation needs to bring a technology to market. It's just, it's kind of, it's a resourcing thing. And so we want to make sure that it's mutually successful for both parties. So we want to make sure that the resourcing, that the challenge is understood, because it's not intuitive and it's not necessarily easy, and it's a long road. So we want to, again, work to do our best to make sure it's mutually successful. To the peanut butter and jelly crate thing. So we live in a short attention span world, right? So it's like we got to catch. So our whole portfolio is targeted to CEOs and CTOs about patented technologies that could be, dozens of pages long. You got insomnia, pick up a patent. I'm sorry, no offense to patent attorneys anywhere, but they're very difficult to read and challenging. And we have to create the value proposition, or we have to condense the value proposition of that patent in short form. So each of our patented technologies is in a half-page paragraph. And so we're dealing in short attention span theater world. And, with all the social media and everything, and we have how much of a fraction of a second to get someone's attention. So we got to catch their attention. Then we need to keep their attention, that they might read a little bit more. And then we need to get them to do that next step, which is connect with us and reach out to us so that we can further the conversation. So we have to stand out above the noise. There's so many things demanding attention. It's like, how do we get your attention and see that there's value here for you and your company? And this could be a viable way to take your business forward. So we have developed our materials to be engaging, attention getting, and developed in layman's terms. We can get to the hardcore tech, if you want to, as we go through it. But right now we need to, Mr. or Mrs. CEO or Miss CEO and, a CTO, we want to make sure that I need that. It's like, look at that. It's kind of like the bag of candy. We've got that, or some federal lab has that. So with the poster series, we did a series of posters on all the T2 agreements that we have, the tech transfer based authority agreements, and the PB&J CRADA is one of my favorites. Because it's just, so how do you capture that idea that, okay, I'm a university, or you're a business, an industry partner, you could work with the federal lab. Well, what's in it for me? It's about sharing resources, sharing risk and reward, right? So it's like, right, you bring your peanut butter, I'll bring my jelly, and we got a good sandwich, right? So we're trying to capture the concept in an easy to communicate way. Again, images and pictures are convey things faster than words can. And we can, you can always call for more information if you're intrigued. So we try to present the information. Both we did that with our technology sectors in our portfolio, as well as the different kinds of agreements. So that's kind of, we wanted to do something cool and catchy for internal marketing, and then we were able to bring them to the outside as well. So because it can be kind of a serious,
I love that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's like, it can be really serious business, and it's like, missions for agencies. It can be, somber, serious places. And so to lighten it up a little bit is it's always a delight to be able to do that and make, if we can bring a smile to somebody's face while they're doing their mission work, kudos, it's goodness all around.
You got me.
Yeah.
Last thing while we have you, anything coming up for the remainder of 2023 as we get into 2024 that we should know about in terms of public facing stuff, conferences that you're going to be presenting at, talks you're going to be giving, any places that we may run into you, meet you, anything else that I missed, please?
Thank you for that opportunity. I think the next biggest thing in my radar, because boy, the end of the year's going to get here faster than we know it, is next April, the 50th anniversary for the FLC national meeting.
Yep.
We'll be doing that in Dallas, Texas next year, first week in April.
Nice.
So that'll be a really great place to be. Our team will be in addition to that. So that's the thing I would highlight first is the 50th anniversary of FLC at its national meeting in Dallas. You can find out about that on the FLC's website. Our team goes with the NSA booth to different events on the trade show floor, basically. So we're at RSA every year with the NSA team. That's another big place where we are, always out and working to find partners, licensing and creative partners. But those are the two big things I'll mention.
Excellent. Great stuff, Linda. Rooting you on. Continue to follow all that you do, and again, I want to thank you not just for coming on the show, but obviously everything that you do to develop our economy, get these technologies out there, protect our country in the process. Again, for everybody that is going to be listening to this particular episode of the show across the various podcast networks or watching on the YouTube channel, again, you've been spending time with Linda Berger, Director of the Office of Research and Technology Applications, United States National Security Agency, also serving Executive Board Chair of the Federal Laboratory Consortium. Linda, I want to thank you for taking the time to educate us on all these topics today. Obviously, thank you for everything you do for our country. And as we like to say on our show, thanks for helping to create a better tomorrow via what you do. A really great story, and wishing you the best with all of it as you move it forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me, Ira. Thank you for the invitation. It's just been an absolute pleasure to spend this time with you. So thank you so much.
Awesome having you.